top. What's the matter with Marvin Harrison Jr.? So, before the draft, I told everybody, Charlie, everyone included, everyone who was listening, that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a future Hall of Famer and probably going to be the best receiver in the league at some point. So when he had one reception for 4 yards and everyone was going crazy about how slow his speed was in the game, I figured I had to go to the tape and figure out what the hell was the problem. And I learned that the Bills also think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a future Hall of Famer. And they treated him that way. And the issue was not that he is bad or slow or can't play in this league. It was that they came into the game, the Bills, with a game plan to take Marvin Harrison Jr. out. And the Cardinals came into the game with a game plan that they thought they were going to treat Marv just like anyone else. So I got some dots up here for the podcast audience. I apologize. You can go to YouTube, but I'll try to explain it as much as possible. I got some dots up here to show you. All right, so this is the first play that I want you guys to see. Marvin Harrison is far right of the screen. He's playing the X position, and they're going to rotate into a single high. It's going to look like man coverage, but the safety's leaning hard over top of Marvin. I think that's a double there, and you can tell by how Benford plays it. He plays hard squat inside and presses and takes it away. So, yeah, Marvin was facing this type of coverage all day. And then the next play. So this looks like it's supposed to be cover two, but they're really kind of playing, not kind of, they have man coverage. The corner over Harrison is turning. If you look at the corner on the left, he's turning his body position inside to cover or to see the field and to cover those receivers. The corner over Marvin Harrison is covering only Marvin Harrison with the safety over the top.
And Marv is bottom right now.
Yeah.
In the true X position.
He is in a true X. They got him isolated in X. Here it is again. This looks like cover 6. So it's 4 to the front and 2 to the back. But again, you can watch the position of the corner, 31 over top of Marv. He turns his body to Marvin, and he's covering him with a safety over top, and then the linebacker comes underneath. You see how wide open everyone else is as a result, but it is clear that they came into this game with a game plan. All right, here's the last example of Marvin Harrison. Again, it's cover 2. They disguise it well and rotate. It's the same thing, but you see how wide open that tight end is. You look on the other side. Benford turns his body in, and he can break on that option route. On this side, 31 turns to him, and there's no one there. He can't break on that. So they double Marv. It leaves other people open. I was concerned, but there's no reason to be concerned. There are lots of receivers who face double teams and unique coverages throughout the course of the year. So if you want to beat these coverages, you just got to steal. It's not too hard. I went to Tyreek Hill. He faces a lot of doubles. And this is what they do, to use his speed. And Marvin Harrison may not be as shifty as Hill, but he can run. So the first thing you got to do is attack deep. You got to get out to where there is space and then isolate one of those guys. This is a route that I think Marvin Harrison would run well. You can motion him to make sure he doesn't get pressed, but he can use his long speed. It doesn't require any short area quickness. Use your long speed to run away from him. And then you can modify off of that, do the deep over, and then turn it into a corner. But once you do those a couple times, they'll find a different way to double you. And that's why I went to Justin Jefferson. They try to do a bracket double on Justin Jefferson, and this is real easy to beat.
And he's in the slot here, by the way. It's not playing as like a true X like Marvin was.
It's an excellent point. They leave Marvin isolated away from the trips oftentimes to get isolated. Right here, it's nothing to talk about. You're faster than them. Run, split the bracket, and bomb them. So I was a little worried. I thought for a second, because I didn't watch the tape, and I let these internet people collect some clips and tell me about his miles per hour, and I was, maybe my man Marv is not going to be as good as I hoped. But then I watched the tape. So, Charlie, don't worry. Cardinals fans, relax. Marv's going to be great.
Can I ask a couple follow-ups on this?
Absolutely.
First one. We've heard the term cloud coverage a lot in discussing how Marvin Harrison was guarded.
So I think that there's a misunderstanding when people are talking about cloud coverage. Cloud coverage is essentially cover 2, where you have a corner in the flat and then a safety over the top. Mm-hmm. You would end up doubling that receiver if he's the only one in that area, but it's not a true double. The corner presses him and then lets him go and takes over the flat responsibility, and then the safety takes him deep. Marvin Harrison wasn't facing that. He was facing something harder to beat than cloud coverage. They were playing man and zone. So they would press him and then play low underneath him with a safety over top. That's probably the toughest coverage to beat, but obviously Marvin has the ability to beat that coverage.
And that's essentially a box and one in
yeah.
layman terms.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. No, that's exactly what it is. Everyone on the field is playing zone.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone on the team in the secondary, the linebackers are playing zone, except for the guy that's closest to Marvin Harrison or Tyreek Hill or any of these great receivers. That guy is guarding him man-to-man throughout the zone, so you end up with a double team no matter where they go. It's hard to beat. And to the point that you were making, they should be more intelligent, or not intelligent, more creative about what they do with Marvin Harrison Jr. because people are looking for him. Oftentimes in this game, they just played it like a true X. And if you look at the great receivers in the game today, they move around. Mm-hmm. They move around. They put them in stacks so you can't press them. They motion them. They put them in the backfield. They put them in the slot. They put them as the number one person in the trips so that when the team is – so that the defense cannot just have a static adjustment and take them away. And that's one of the problems with what they did last week was they just put him out there at X. He did go to the slot a little bit, but he's not running corners from the slot. He's just at the slot running these deep curls.
Yeah, it seemed like they were all deep curls, and that's some of the explanation for why. Look, we're talking about miles per hour in track data because at Ohio State, I think he topped out at 23 miles per hour, which was in line with DK Metcalf, who's not an Ambi Turner, as the fastest straight line guy in the NFL, and that's where Marv was. It was above Tyreek Hill last year. But in this game, the tape also did show with these deep curls, he didn't look as explosive and he wasn't creating separation. Yeah. Is there any concern with the lack of speed? Just because if he was compared to a bigger Antonio Brown or a faster Larry Fitzgerald, that's not the same type of guy who explodes out of cuts like Justin Jefferson or is able to run by everyone like Tyreek Hill.
I have to be honest. When I watched the tape, I didn't see the quickness and route running ability that I've come to expect from a high-end receiver. Mm-hmm. But I'm willing to believe that that's there. And you read his quotes, he says he was thinking a lot out there.
Yes.
I'm willing to believe that, and that's also possibly why they didn't do a bunch of motions or different formations with him. It's because it feels like he, in his own words, the game is moving too fast for him, and he's thinking about all the things he has to do. So simplifying the offense for him, understanding that these are your formations, and when we get you in these formations, these are the 3 routes you need to know, and then you can build on it. Because the first thing you got to do is get the ball to him.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. Figure out a way to get the ball to him. And I'll excuse this first week because I think it's reasonable. If I was with Drew Petzing, the offensive coordinator, I wouldn't have expected them to treat my rookie like that. But then when you look at the rest of the roster, you acknowledge, well, they're gonna give him that attention. And also in their defense, the Buffalo Bills kind of have practice at taking away big time receivers. They do well against Tyreek Hill. I'm saying
Tyreek Hill is a Dolphin.
Yeah, that recently against Tyreek Hill. I'm saying this on Thursday afternoon before they play tonight. Hopefully that holds up. But historically, Tyreek Hill is going to catch the ball, but he's not going to get those big plays. At least that hasn't been what he's done. And the Bills have practice with that. And they ran those same coverages that they run against Tyreek Hill. They ran them against Marvin Harrison Jr., and he doesn't have a Waddle on the other side to threaten.
So we're coming off this week where Marvin was asked about it. Kyler was asked about it, and Kyler, basically said the offense coordinator needs to scheme up ways to get him the ball. It's not my job. Kind of funny because literally I don't know who else's job it would be. But do you expect this to be like a squeaky wheel game where they find ways to get Marvin on the move, to get those long strides going so he can use his speed and get the ball early and often to show that this is an aberration? Because this is one of the most pro-ready receivers we've seen in a decade. I don't know, since the A.J. Green, Julio Jones type draft pick where one reception for 4 yards seemed out of the realm of possibilities. Like you could see a slow start, but this seemed abnormally slow.
Yeah, I'm shocked. And I do think that when I watch the tape, I think it's easy to explain. Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll find out something else is wrong because I can't explain the speed tracking data nearly as easily as I can explain why he didn't have a big game.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty obvious when you watch the tape is there are certain routes required. There are certain schemes required when people are going to devise special coverages just to stop you. The Cardinals didn't think they were going to see those coverages, and it's clear that they didn't have any plays to beat those coverages. So I think that be easy to address in the rest of the season. The question is if that speed data or means anything, like I'm willing to say it's just week 1 on that.
Yeah.
Like that, we saw so much tape of Marvin looking like a great route runner and looking incredibly fast. Like I went back and read some of his draft profiles before we did this, and there were actually some draft reports that said none under weaknesses. Like, literally had 13 strengths and none under weaknesses. I think he's going to be all right.
Let's not forget that in 2022 in the college football playoff, before he got knocked out of the game with a concussion, he was Did he have CJ Stroud? Yes. But he was also completely eviscerating the Georgia defense. So if you just spin that forward, on a college team, he eviscerated the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, perfectly done. All right.
I got one last.
You got another follow-up?
One last point.
Can we start the show?
Yeah, but this is the last point. I said you're gonna love this because this is. Never forget, Jamar Chase at the beginning of his rookie year couldn't catch the football because he didn't have stripes on it. So I think we can be okay with waiting 1 week for Marv.
I forgot about that. Now he can't catch the ball, but it's because there's no money on it. Pay that man.
Pay that man.
Pay that man his money. All right, play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
All right, welcome, friends. Joined by the great Mina Kimes. It's going to be a regular thing, so I don't know. Remember it. Put it in your calendar or something. She's here. The vanilla snack, Charlie Kravitz, is here as usual with some nice new shoes.
I got mocked into buying new shoes. Congratulations.
Next step, get you some socks. Those are awful socks.
DC flag?
They used to be white. They aren't white.
You try playing on a red plate.
And buy some socks for life and socks for tennis.
We're just appalling, Mina. We have we want to talk about football this weekend, and you're talking about my socks.
I'm trying
I think the audience likes this.
Yes.
Great. I'm learning a lot.
That you can't wear dirty socks with new
They're
shoes.
They're not dirty.
They look dirty. All right, Mina. Hey, Mina, how are you?
You can't see my socks, but I'm doing good otherwise.
I know Mina seems like the type to have holes in her socks.
Really?
I barely ever wear socks. So.
Fair point.
It's still California.
All right, Mina, you had a good idea for the show concept last week. We're going to do games that we're excited and we're looking forward to, and the guilty pleasure games. Right?
It might be a little bit gross, but you're kind of into it.
Oh, gosh. And we are not going to make any references to anything that happened on the internet in recent days. All right. All right, Mina. I just know that you can't wait, Charlie, to make some bad off-color joke about a tight end. All right, Mina, go for it.
So I get to go first with the game that how do you want to play this? You want me to do the game I'm most intrigued by, or?
It was your idea.
Let's start with Mina.
You're literally the host of the show.
Yeah, Mina. Let's have it.
We got an egalitarian show style over here. Sometimes I host, sometimes the guest host.
Hold on,
All
as
right,
we're
Mina,
careening
go.
off the highway. Mina will give her good game. Domonique will give her his good game. I'll give my good game. We'll wrap back around.
Don't let Mina bully you
Guilty
into
pleasure
structure.
game.
Our show is unstructured.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mina.
We'll
Bucs
use that structure.
Lions is my good game. Bucs Lions is a game that I'm super excited for, especially I already was excited for it, obviously, after it's a playoff rematch, but also the Bucs offense looked so unbelievable, honestly, week 1, but it was one of those games, there's a few offenses like this in the NFC South in particular, where I want to find out, was that the true nature of the Bucs offense, or was it because they were playing a Commanders defense that really looks like one of the worst in the NFL? Sorry,
Disgusting.
Charlie. Just
They're
really, really
disgusting.
bad. And disgusting in a way that I think made them uniquely susceptible to Tampa. They play a lot of cover 3. Baker Mayfield just has been slicing his way through cover 3. Mike Evans was incredible in this game. So anyways, I want to watch this matchup because I want to learn more about that offense. And, the Lions got the win week 1. They're still Super Bowl contenders, but I don't know if the pass defense really acquitted themselves that well, frankly. So I want to see how they hold up against this Tampa Bay offense.
Were you incredibly impressed by Aiden Hutchinson and his 47% win rate? Because wouldn't that it seems like that would be a huge change for their front and back line of the defense if they're able to get pressure on the quarterback at that type of rate.
Yeah, it would certainly help some of that young secondary, which Domonique, I thought, struggled quite a bit in man coverage. However, again, this is one of those things where you're like, okay, well, yes, you struggled in man coverage, but you went up against Matthew Stafford, who just blacked out in that game. Like, it didn't matter. Aiden Hutchinson could have like a 90% pressure rate. He was making throws from like arm angles that unseen to earth with pressure in his face. And then you have Sean McVay, who's unbelievable at scheming against man coverage. So I think that the pass rush is going to have to compensate for some issues early on with this Lions pass defense. But Domonique, I feel like, I want to see, like, is this Bucs offense as good as they looked? And I think we're going to find out more about both them and the Lions pass defense in this one.
If the Bucs offense can be as good as they were against Charlie's beloved Commanders, or, I mean, they're not going to be that good against the Lions, but if they can be close to that against the Lions, I think we have to reconsider some things that we thought about the NFC South and who's going to represent them and how far they're going to go into playoffs. But
let's be clear, we have to reconsider one thing about the NFC South. I don't know if after 1 week we have to reconsider
that's the point of this game. This is a matchup where if the Bucs, because I think that no one believes that the NFC South is going to be a contender, that any of them can contend. Yeah. If they can beat the Lions, then they're contenders. So I guess that's my point, that we have to respect them. They automatically become a serious outfit. Speaking of serious outfit, the reason why I said the Lions last year were an unserious outfit, and that's who I'm more excited about this game seeing, is the Lions. I said their pass rush was the problem. And so Aiden Hutchinson started to bring answers to that. They're a one-man pass rush, but if they can add something else to that pass rush, then I think this team takes a different leap. I know they weren't great in man coverage, but I like Terry and Arnold. Like, what I saw out of him out there, like, he seemed comfortable. Man coverage is something that's very hard. You can have perfect man coverage and all game and mess up here or there, or you can have perfect man coverage and have a quarterback beat you. It seemed like the big question for a lot of corners is, are you capable of doing that? I walked away from that game feeling like Terry Arnold is capable. How great he's going to be, I don't know, but he feels like he's on track to be an upgrade. So that makes me happy about this team. I want to see them continue to do that going forward against some more talented receivers.
What I'm excited about with the Lions.
What, Cooper Kupp getting targeted 37 times this week?
No. For the Lions?
Oh, yeah,
You're talking about Amon-Ra. Did you just have a Freudian slip and call him Cooper Kupp in this line?
I did. We were talking about the game where they played against the Rams, and then we talked about the Lions, and I thought about Amon-Ra, how he is no longer their ex.
Well, what I'm excited by is explosives.
Yeah.
Pew explosives for the Lions team, because it's obviously Jameson Williams had what is the best game of his young career so far, and whether or not that's sustainable in some way. He clearly is a game breaker speed-wise, and compared to the early parts of last season, it seems that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get a bigger target share and more run, or a higher percentage of the snap count. And that's just exciting, because this was an explosive offense with guys who weren't game breakers, and both of those guys are take the top off the defense players that weren't being utilized in this way last year.
I think the Bucs are going to have a hard time in this one on defense, because it seems like they're not going to have Antoine Winfield Jr. I haven't checked the latest injury status, but last I saw he's out probably a couple weeks or something. Not the offense you don't want to be able to defend the middle of the field against, both with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and also one of the Jameson Williams explosives was over the middle of the field, and having like multiple pass and catching options who can stress you with levels and compromise your zones, which is, I think that the Bucs will play a lot of zones. That's troubling. And yeah, he's the best player on that defense. Not having him is huge in this one.
And the Jameson Williams emergence, maybe. Like, I really like what that means. And Charlie and I have this conversation often about the type of receivers that I like. And Amon-Ra is not, like, he's a great piece, but, like, I want somebody who is scaring defenses in a way that Amon-Ra doesn't often. Mm-hmm. And Jameson Williams has the potential to do. And I think that does wonders for this offense if he turns into the type of receiver that I think we all expected him to be before he got hurt.
They play off each other, too, right? Because defenses are so worried about Amon-Ra and the run game in general, and Sam Laporta. There's always one-on-ones for Williams, not always, but there are one-on-ones, as well as opportunities outside. Although, again, like on that one explosive over the middle, both of his two explosives in week 1 against the Rams, they showed two and then spun down a safety in both of the plays. And once they played cover 1 man, the other time they played cover 3, and Williams profited both times. And that's kind of what was missing from this Lions offense, like to be less I guess, jargony, defenses are so worried about the run in the middle of the field. It has long felt like all you need is a speedy wide receiver to take advantage of all of that single high coverage and those one-on-ones on the outside. And Williams was that guy week 1.
It's crazy how that was the first game where it reminded me of him his junior year at Alabama, where it felt like he was like a Tyreek type player. Because even through his on and off the field injury stuff in the last 2 years, it felt like it was just 9 routes and jet sweeps, and seeing him do all these different things was so exciting.
He was off the field because he gambled.
Yeah, and ACL and gambling.
It wasn't just injuries with that guy. Yeah. All right, Mina, you want to give us your guilty pleasure game?
Oh, this one's disgusting.
It's so gross, Mina.
I know. Ugh. You're going to have to hold your nose while I reveal this one. All right, you ready? Steelers Broncos.
Oh, why?
I actually, from like just a narrative standpoint, I kind of wanted Russ to play in this one because just the, nasty, like the size. It's not, I don't even call that a revenge game, because if it's a game where there's a split and it's acrimonious and it's obvious, like no one side has the obvious revenge like motivation, then I think you can't call this a revenge game for Russ, because
he cares a lot. Like,
he got $1 zillion from Denver, but you also can't call it a revenge game for Denver because they kind of kicked him out and tried to tell him that he was injured. So anyways, he's not playing. It's Justin Fields. And that actually is why I'm interested in this. I generally find the Steelers more interesting with Justin Fields. I thought he played pretty efficient football week 1. And I want to see, is there a next level, right? Obviously, as a runner, I thought the Falcons were able to do a decent job of containing. They're obviously very focused on doing so. But also, are there a few more shot plays to George Pickens there for the offing against this Broncos defense? And then on the other side, I feel like poor Bo Nix, man. I mean, I think that Seahawks defense is better than people think. But to go from that to the Steelers, based on what we saw week 1, this Steelers defense, I mean, that pass rush is a bunch of marauders. So I want to see, what you got, him and Peyton, because I feel like if he puts up another performance like he did week 1, people are going to start to get pretty nervous in Denver.
You want to see Bo Nix get ravaged. That's what it sounds like. You say, what you got? You know what's going to happen. What you got against TJ Watt?
TJ Watt was so good in that game. Refs kept thinking he was offsides.
Well, it'll help when he doesn't know what play is coming based on alignment. So
that will help. That will help. Hopefully Bo Nix doesn't do shotgun pistol the whole game.
By the way, on Fields, for the love of God, let's hope he takes some more deep shots, because it was all short intermediate outs for that entire game. Like, if you look at his passing chart, the entire middle of the field, short, intermediate, and deep, was empty. And part of that, Van Jefferson outsnapped George Pickens. He got the Arthur Smith special in that game.
They are hiding their quarterback, and that's not going to be something that they can get away with for the entire season. It might be something they can get away with for one more week, but I do think that at some point we're all going to be, while we're not excited about this game, we are going to be excited about, or I can't say not excited. Mina's obviously into this game. While this doesn't feel like it's going to be the biggest test, there's going to be a game when Justin Fields has to be like a good quarterback, and that's what the game I'm looking forward to, because I think he has the ability, but I also think that he's got a lot of scar tissue.
I want to see the Steelers' run game look better than it did week 1, because I feel like there's still some opportunities there on the table. Seattle in the second half against Denver really got something going with the power run game and switching to more gap and man blocking stuff. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers can do the same. Weirdly, in week 1, Jalen Warren barely played. There might be an injury issue there, but I feel like this offense, this rushing attack, is so much more explosive with him. Like, the dream for me of a Steelers offense with Justin Fields involved some really disgusting stuff running the football, and I feel like that I just kind of want to see more of that, because if we do, let's say the run game looks dominant against them, coupled with this defense, we're gonna have to take the Pittsburgh Steelers seriously. And I feel like if Fields plays well in this one, they're gonna drop the pretense that Russ might come back.
Yeah, it's getting ugly over there for Russ. Mike Tomlin seemed frustrated with him, and Mike Tomlin's not normally one to show that frustration, especially towards his players publicly. So we'll see what happens with Russ there. Can we move on? You got more about this game?
No, please, for the love of God, let's get off of this game.
All right, I'll cheer you up. I got Bears-Texans. I think that game
This is your good game.
Yeah, that's
Just being clear.
I mean, it doesn't have to be explained. Anyone who's not excited about this game doesn't love football like you, Charlie. I'm saying you love football.
Oh, yeah.
They don't love it as much as you. I think it's obvious. It's Caleb. I think you look back at the Caleb game and you see glimpses of the things that we like about him. I think you can try to defend him by saying the interior of the offensive line got destroyed, because they did. Their center spent a lot of time getting rolled up, but that wasn't the only issue with him in that game. He had some concerns too with his ability to scramble and run away, his ability to manage the pocket, and his ability, frankly, to consistently hit the targets and take the available receivers. I think they're all easily fixable things. I'm looking forward for him to have an opportunity to do that and try to set his career on the path that I think we all expected it to be on.
Yeah, the Texans defense, I think, is quite good.
Yeah.
They don't have the sort of interior pass rush, though, that Tennessee does. They're better rushing off the edge with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. So I think that there will be opportunities here for Caleb to maybe, step up a little bit in the pocket. We'll see. That's something that was really missing week one. I just want to see him play on time a bit more and then connect on some of those explosives. He just, he was inaccurate week one. It wasn't like I watched that and I thought, ooh, something's going on here that can be like extremely obviously fixed schematically. I just think he needs to play better. I think he can play better. We've seen him play better a million times. It just felt like kind of like week one jitters coupled with the shaky interior offensive line to me. And I think an underrated Tennessee defense that actually, I think Domonique, I know your guys, their coach, I thought I was very impressed by their week one performance. The other side of the ball, though, is awesome in this one. I mean, the Texans offense against the Bears defense is super strength on strength. I think that what you saw week one, which is basically the Colts played them with a ton of light boxes and Joe Mixon just galloped through them, that's not happening this week. So, I want to see, what does this passing game look like against, I think what we expect to be a very good secondary. But I also think the Bears pass rush, looked really good week one. It's large part of why they won that game. I'm not totally sold, though. So I still think there's going to be opportunities here for CJ Stroud.
Yeah. I mean, that Texans-Colts game, probably the best game of the early window last week. And Stroud seemed to pick up exactly where he left off. He just delivers the ball in such an amazing way. But there were turnover-worthy plays that did not get executed against the Colts. And the Bears defense might be more opportunistic about that. One thing worth noting on Caleb Williams, Adunze probably not playing, and Keenan Allen was also a DNP this Thursday at practice. So some of the pieces that we loved so much around Caleb going into the season might not be there for a tough matchup.
I was just thinking about this as you guys were talking, and there's like emotion tied into all these things for us. And I think going into the game, going into the weekend's games, there's often a game you care about or a narrative that you care about more than anything. And I can't think of anything that I want more than Caleb Williams. Like this weekend, like I want so badly for Caleb Williams to be the guy that we all hoped that he would be. And I guess maybe there are other things that would be awesome and funny, but I can't think of anything else that I want, or any single player that I want to play better this weekend than Caleb Williams. No one cares. No one disagrees. Agrees. Nothing.
No, that's an interesting one. I think the NFL will be a lot more fun if he plays well this year.
I think it's also just because I spent a lot of the offseason getting excited about it. And I think I was really disappointed. So, I wanted what I thought I was going to get. I wanted.
So, for my answer for that one is Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, because if they don't do it against a disgusting Giants team this week, It's going to get real bleak, really dark here really quickly.
Well, that's not my guilty game. My guilty pleasure game is the Cowboys-Saints, and I don't think it's going to be a particularly competitive game.
Undefeated teams.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to dominate the Saints. I think we got a little bit of fool's goal last year from the Saints.
Week 1, yeah.
Or not last. I said last week from the Saints, and the Week 1 dominance of the Panthers.
Carolina.
I think this matchup. This is a pretty good matchup for the Cowboys. That D-line is going to continue to eat. And we're going to do our normal tradition is we get all excited about the Cowboys early in the year and think they are going to win the Super Bowl. So I'm ready. Let's do it.
I am also interested in this one actually for the same reason, which is like, okay, let's get a real measuring stick for this Saints offense. But I will say, and I picked Dallas to win this game. I think they will win. I think the pass rush is going to be able to tee off on, the rookie left tackle. All the uncertainty didn't show up week 1. That said, what did show up, it was a really interesting watch. No, it wasn't. But what was something that I did find somewhat compelling about it was how different the Saints offense looks with Clint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator, right? Like motion and like different personnel usages. Very different from what we saw certainly last year with Pete Carmichael. And I do think like that is the kind of offense you need against this Dallas Cowboys. The only way that you can neutralize Micah Parsons and company is to create some uncertainty in terms of the run and the pass. And I do think that they showed that week 1, but whether they can execute it against like an elite defense, I don't know.
Ooh. Okay. It's time for my good game. Guys, I can't believe this game fell to me. Going last in this. I'm stunned that this game is still on the board. Game of the weekend. Bengals-Chiefs. A must-win game for the Bengals. An embarrassing loss to the Patriots in week 1 where Joe Burrow was seen flexing his wrist. Did not look like a healthy active male in the way he could not pick up a Gatorade bottle. And the Chiefs offense with Xavier
healthy active male?
No, Mina, just keep going, Mina.
Like
that's what he wanted.
Or something?
He wanted you to stop down on that so that he could explain how this is a joke.
That's how Shannon Sharp explained himself.
I am not caught up on every piece of this Shannon
keep
Sharp
going.
story so that I can't, I can't understand your arcane references.
Good job, Mina. I'm proud of you for not knowing that. You know everything on the internet, so I'm happy. You must have went outside
I'm
today.
not going to watch like a 45-minute YouTube video selling pills or whatever to try to understand. Just give me the TLDR at some point.
Healthy active male. There's the TLDR.
All right. Bengals, Chiefs.
So Bengals, Chiefs. On the other side of it, obviously, this might actually not be as good of a game if the Bengals look the way they did against the Patriots in week 1. But it's the Chiefs offense looked much more explosive with Xavier Worthy. Sort of excited to see them play again. And this is a rivalry game. A tiny bit concerning is if Burrow doesn't have T. Higgins again because of his chronic hamstring injury, and if we get a similar performance from Jamar Chase, their offense just did not look explosive at all. And that's weird with the Burrow and Chase offense. And that would be very disappointing in this game. And I can't imagine them playing well if they don't have explosive plays from their playmakers.
So, yeah, this game, I'm looking forward to it also, but it's going to reframe how we feel about the Bengals because the Bengals have issues outside of the fact that Jamar Chase is annoyed because he doesn't have his money. I think that go ahead.
And an hour ago when we're taping this, Jamar Chase said that the Bengals, everyone knows they're the team to beat in the AFC.
Stop it. And T. Higgins has
the Patriots did that.
T. Higgins has a what appears to be a financially motivated hamstring injury.
Yeah, he's got a case of franchise tagitis that's really acting up week to week.
He should tell him, you know what I hear is good for the hamstring? A big stack of cash for me to sit on. It'll heal it right up. But yeah, so you got that whatever that brings into your team. The two best players on your team other than your quarterback are both upset about their money. And then you have the on-field issues. I mean, you have the risk concerns with Joe Burrow, but you have the major on-field issue that they still haven't proven that they can stop the run. And stopping the run is it's like the first door you have to or the first threshold you have to cross if you're going to be a successful defense or football team. If you can't stop the run, you can't win. And they need to figure that out. So this team is looking, it went from before the season when we all were like, hey, maybe, all right.
Fourth place schedule.
Everything,
look at this.
to if they don't win this week, I think 5% of teams have lost the first 2 games over the past 5 years and still made the playoffs. The past 5 years and still made the playoffs. So they go into that category, and then they go into the concerning category because their defense is a sieve and their quarterback is fragile.
To your point, here's an amazing stat. Against the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson forced 10 missed tackles and gained 118 yards after contact. He had 120 yards total. That's the Bengals tackling.
Yeah,
they were one of the worst run defenses in football last year, one of the worst tackling defenses, and nothing's changed, right? I gotta say, I said this a lot about the Bengals this offseason, but when people were putting them back in the Super Bowl, I kept asking, okay, but are we sure this defense, which was one of the worst in the NFL, is actually better this year? I mean, Trey Hendrickson was doing his best to make an impact in that game, but outside of him, I just don't see that many players you're scared of on this front. And they're going up against a Chiefs offense that is extremely physical, that can run the ball, that can break tackles, that can get yards after the catch, that's going to work the middle of the field. And then on the other side, I think the Patriots defense, this is sort of a week 1 thing where everyone's like, oh, the Patriots suck, right? Mm-hmm. So when they won, it seemed shocking. I think what people will realize is actually the Patriots defense is quite good. And
what other people
Domonique
realize,
and I talked about it.
Other people, not you and me, who knew all this and tried to warn
Patriots.
warn you rubes before the season started. Dummies.
Well, anyways, the thing about
get in the film room, Charlie.
This Burrow offense is, I think that a defense like Kansas City is well situated to do something similar to what New England did, where you have, diverse coverages on the back end, physicality. They're really great at tackling. I think that similarly, again, to what we saw last week, they're going to force Joe Burrow to check it down a lot, and then they're going to, limit their yards after the catch. So I don't like this matchup I think this matchup, this has been like a great rivalry in recent years. I kind of think it ends this year because I don't think the Bengals match up well with Kansas City at all.
One thing I do want to touch on about the Chiefs before we go to Charlie's kink game. You mentioned Xavier Worthy as adding an explosive element to this game or to this team. I don't really think he has yet. And I know that sounds ridiculous because he had 2 touchdowns. But like the touchdown, he scored one off a blown coverage, and then that reverse, they just plowed down that whole side. Like he was fast and he scored, but we still haven't seen him do the receiver things that we need to kind of make this offense into something crazy. So I will still be watching for him to catch a deep ball that's not a result of there being no cover 2 corner or no cover 2 safety on the side of the field that he's on.
The thing is, though, right, Domonique, like that, you're absolutely right. And as a Xavier Worthy dynasty manager, I was like, give me these touchdowns. I'm loving it. But his impact, he could not catch the ball, and his presence on the field will still impact the offense because of there were, like a couple of those big Rashee Rice catch and runs. You saw the attention paid to Worthy down the field, as well as Travis Kelce, always. And it's like, okay, if you have multiple players who are now commanding the attention of the defense, it just opens it. As long as they have 3 skilled players that they can trust, it creates so much more opportunity for players like Rice to work underneath.
Yeah, him just showing that he can catch the ball is enough because I've talked about this before. Yeah. When you are preparing for teams, they give you a sheet with all the players on it and their positions, and it's like they have them on the field where they are, and underneath the names they have like height, weight, and 40 time, and they put it in different colors. Well, I guess they use iPads now, but back when we used paper in my day, and they put it in different colors if you need to pay extra attention. I'm pretty sure Xavier Worthy has a red 4-2 underneath his name, and everyone is scared as soon as he steps on the field.
So I have a quote from Bengals corner Cam Taylor-Britt. The Bengals, by the way, some delusional quotes lately because these might be some famous last words. Xavier Worthy on what Xavier Worthy brings to the offense. Speed. That's about it. He can run straight, run jet sweeps, and just run straight. He can't do anything else.
Oh God! Why would you say that? But like, you just know the second he hits like a deep crosser or something. Oh.
I mean, and it's also even if it were true, so that's scary. Like that is scary. 4-2 straight is a problem.
Did I ever tell you, speaking of the scouting reports, I had a close friend who played against Steven Strasburg in the College World Series, and that's when he was throwing 104. It was the best pitching prospect ever, and they gave him like a scouting report to hit against him, and the scouting report just said, "Good luck." It's perfect.
That sounds about right. All right.
All right, my guilty pleasure game. 49ers Vikings.
This is a good one. I like this
Yeah.
one. Good pick. This is a good pick.
Mina's large adult son, her firstborn child, Sam Darnold, with his Lego head, he balled out in week 1. And Kevin O'Connell seems to be a quarterback whisperer. We shouldn't forget that we're less than a year removed from the Pastronaut winning our hearts when he was playing in that system. And Darnold looked amazing. And there were concerns about how the offense was going to look. On the other side, the 49ers eviscerated the Jets defense that I think Troy Aikman called vaunted 55 times, if I'm counting correctly, in week 1. And that was without Christian McCaffrey, who's still limited, who has Achilles tendonitis and might be out slightly longer than we realize. But the 49ers looked phenomenal on both sides of the ball, and Jordan Mason filled in perfectly. Mina, your thoughts?
Yeah. I am interested in this game mostly because of the Vikings coaches, to be honest. Both sides of the ball. I think you could argue, if you're considering both sides of the football, the Vikings have as good a coaching staff as any in the NFL right now. And I'm very intrigued to see what Brian Flores does against the San Francisco 49ers offense. I think he has better players to work with this year. I think you saw that week 1. But he also has players who have taken a leap too. I mean, their safeties are so good. I was thinking they're that's sort of one of the more unheralded position groups in football, but they've actually kind of emerged as one of the better safety groups in the NFL. So obviously he is very creative and diabolical when it comes to his pressures and unique coverages. So I want to see just what is his plan to confuse Brock Purdy, similarly to what we saw from the Ravens. The difference, of course, being they're not quite as talented, but I still want to see it. And then the same thing on the other side of the field. Going back, my beloved adult son made some really gorgeous throws, but oh my God, going back and watching those plays, Kevin O'Connell is really good, really good. Guys are wide open, and he's so good at using motion to create leverage and get guys open. And I think, the Niners defense is very, very talented, but they're not they're pretty regulated. So I want to see, similarly again, can you take advantage of that?
Yeah, this is the Brian Flores for me. That's the Vikings defense is one of the more fun defenses to watch, and last year was particularly fun because it felt like he was trying to it was like one of those chef shows where they give you shabby ingredients and they're like, hey, make something. That's what it's called, chop. Make something, and then it comes out. It's it ain't 5-star, but it's better than I anticipated.
It looks like food.
Yeah. And it was always fun. The journey in those shows, I'm assuming, is the fun part. And that's what it felt like when you're watching him. It's okay, maybe at the end it wasn't a 0-point shutout, but watching them design ways to get people in positions to make plays and to protect players and hide the players who were going to be in the toughest situation until it was too late. That was fun. I'm looking forward to the interesting part about this is most defenses aren't super dynamic. They kind of have there aren't that many defenses, frankly. And so the offense normally has the advantage. They understand what they're going up against, and they scheme to it. And Kyle Shanahan is obviously an expert at that. But Brian Flores is one of the coaches who does kind of come in with a defense that one thing you're going to get is blitzes. But what you want to be able to do is have a blitz or create the same amount of pressure without them knowing where the weakness of the pressure is. And that's the problem. I think that's the problem with going against smart offensive coordinators. They're like, all right, I'm not scared of you blitzing me because I know where you're going to put the stress. And that's the thing that Brian Flores, I think, does well is oh, I'm going to blitz you. No, I'm not. Oh, we're coming from this side. No, I'm going to put this guy in coverage. And he just keeps switching it up and keeps them off balance. So I'm going to be looking forward to this game where he's going to get burned a couple times, but he's going to get Kyle and Purdy a couple of times too. So that's just going to be fun watching that cat and mouse game.
Yeah, and by the way, worth noting that despite the fact that the Niners are saying that McCaffrey's limited. He said that he's like ready to go and he's trying to push to play, which is a really interesting thing. But
it's so weird because it felt like we were getting news earlier in the week that the injury was worse than we anticipated. And now he's saying that
Are they going to be weird about this all year? Because it's going to be really annoying. Yeah.
It's really annoying.
All
right.
I think that'll matter more sorry, I'm holding a letter opener. It's not a knife anymore. I think that'll matter more in this one because of the Brian Flores of it all. Having Christian McCaffrey as an outlet is going to make a big difference.
Was the letter opener a gift?
No, it's actually, I bought it for myself because I needed a letter opener, and I saw one on Etsy that has like a little dog on it, so I bought it.
That is a very cute knife. However,
Thank you.
You actually used the letter opener?
Yeah, I do it all the
Really?
time to open letters.
I didn't know.
Such a satisfying.
Rip that shit open.
Just rip it open like a heathen. And who gets mail? They have this thing called electronic mail, man. It's pretty awesome. You can get your bills.
Okay, you don't know how to text. You don't
Yeah.
play that. Shit.
I can't pretend like I'm the
There's
young
no
cool one.
chance
I can't pretend like I'm the tech savvy one.
Definitely not.
All right, let's get to your favorite part of the show.
Oh yeah, we have a survivor pool. I don't know if you guys remember, but
You're out.
No. I think you got the rules wrong. It was trying to pick the team that would lose. That's how you'd survive. So currently, I'm 1-0, and Mina and Domonique are 0-1.
All right, you got to remind the people.
I picked the Bengals, who lost to the Patriots. I set the rules that I got to pick first, and no one else got to pick the Bengals to set myself up to win, and I still lost. So
So who did Dominique and I pick? Can you remind people?
Domonique. Dominique actually picked 3 teams.
I landed on one.
All 3 of them won, though, unlike the one team that I picked, which was the Seattle Seahawks. And Mina, things are looking pretty tenuous for you for a moment. You picked the Buffalo Bills against the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay, so what are the rules?
The rules are, let's do it this way. Let's tally up strikes at the end of the season.
Okay.
Who picks the most of these wrong? We can't pick the same teams we picked the last week. We'll rotate who goes first. We're all picking different teams. Mina, you get to pick first this week.
Oh, I'm taking the Chargers against the Panthers. I'm going to just, whoever
Every
picks
week.
first is probably going to pick the team opposite the Panthers every week. And this week it's me. This is great too, because I don't know about the Chargers. So this is a great, you know, with Survivor Leagues, you always want to get, you don't want to waste all the top teams early. So I like that for me.
All right, I'm up. Dominique put me on the clock. I'm taking the Ravens against the Raiders.
Oh, I like it. I'm leaning towards that Cowboys game that we all liked, but I don't know if I want to waste the Cowboys now, but it's nothing else. Oh, no. We got the Colts versus the Packers.
Malik
Yeah.
Willis, you're not buying it?
We got the Colts against the Packers. I don't want to say anything derogatory about Malik Willis.
I don't know who you're picking yet. Are you picking the Colts or the
Are you
Packers?
kidding me? Give me your man, Anthony Richardson, and the Colts.
That's the only noise I can make.
You love him so
What's
much.
more likely, that Malik Willis throws for over 150 yards or Anthony Richardson's completion percentage tops 60%?
Oh,
You have
that's
to
a
pick.
tough one.
Richardson could be 6 for 10.
To be clear, this is a pro Anthony Richardson podcast.
Yeah, this is.
Did you
I
see
mean-
he was 2 for 2 on passes over 50 yards and like missed everything else. It was unbelievable.
There was a video. You know the guy who does the Creed voiceovers where he sings while the guy's throwing a block of
Yeah.
ice? Someone set that to Anthony
Incredible.
Richardson slipping and throwing the 57-yard throw, and I was just showing it to Dominique, giggling and making guttural groans, watching the
So
throw over and over again.
So excited.
It's like who's a hitter who with an unbelievable strikeout rate who also hit home runs? I'm
Adam
trying to
Dunn?
think. Adam Dunn, yeah, it's a good one. He's like the Adam Dunn of football right now. Like it's gonna be a lot of strikeouts, but also a lot of dingers, and I'm here for it.
I like that defense too. But anyway, all right, Mina, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Charlie, for your work. Thanks to all the great producers. I love you, Paville. We out.
Cortez is a coward.
Oh, I always forget to say Cortez. Sometimes I think that he's not a coward anymore. He's not. He's still a coward.
He is.
Cortez is a coward. We're out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.